All right, week 4, everybody, of the TexAgs High School football show. Welcome along. Glad you're joining us as the season rolls right along. Ryan Brauninger, Jason Howell with you, the TexAgs recruiting team, getting ready for another week on the trail. I'm coming back off of a little bit of a vacation. Was in Denver to watch Texas A&M have a nail-biter against Colorado, but that was a lot of fun. But we were able to get out on the road and see a lot of games. I know Jason was out in DFW, more FW than D, I think, this weekend. But I think that Walker Lott was at the Woodlands versus Bridgeland. David Sandhop was at Clear Springs against Fort Bend Elkins. I was on vacation. I was trying to keep up with everything, Jason, as it went along. And I was actually at dinner on Friday night at a nice restaurant in Denver where I had my phone up and I was watching what Connor Wigman was doing, another sensational performance by him. But let's start with you. Let's recap the week as we normally do. Who'd you see? What'd you think?
Yeah, I was down in Forney, Texas, watching Fort Worth Brewer and North Forney. The big news, I guess, from that was Bear Alexander had been ruled ineligible during the week by UIL, and sorry about this dog, but been ruled ineligible, and it looks like he's headed to IMG. Could be playing as soon as next week.
Wow.
At IMG. So something to keep an eye out there. Brewer came back from a 3-8 halftime deficit to pull away for a 35-10 win. Jordan Johnson, Rubel, 2024 DB with a Texas A&M offer, and one of the top prospects in that class, showed really well. Didn't get tried a whole lot, but playing safety was kind of the deep man and all over the field making plays. Showing that sideline to sideline ability and his ranginess in the defensive backfield.
It's hard to go see DB sometimes, but like I remember going out and covering Jalen Jones, and it's like he would play offense and some special teams, but when he was on defense doing what he is now doing at A&M, you didn't get to much because nobody was going to throw the ball his way. Now, I will say when you go see a safety, they can have a little bit more impact on the game. But there are times I'd go watch Bobby Taylor, for instance, at Katy, and he'd have one passed on his way the entire game.
Yeah, and in Johnson Rubel's case, it's a situation where he could play corner, safety, nickel. He could play anywhere across that defensive backfield, and that they put him at that safety spot because it does allow him to get sideline to sideline and be involved more. But I was really impressed for a guy, as he's not like a super thick frame guy, but he is not afraid to get physical and stick his nose in there against the run. He had some pretty big hits on the sideline. He was very involved. But yeah, as far as getting really tried in coverage, they weren't trying to go to him.
Well, was there any other scores or any other games that stood out to you? Maybe the outcomes in DFW, because I know there were a couple in Houston that got everybody's attention.
Well, I'll start with Rockwall Lake Travis with Rockwall just taking down the Cavaliers to move to 3-0. I didn't expect it to be the outcome it was. I forget the actual score, but it was a touchdown win. And Braden Locke is throwing for 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 70%, almost 70% completion rate. I think it was like 69.8 or something. Already over 1,000 yards for the season. And then his leading receiver had 12 receptions, 249 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and has picked up 6 scholarship offers since Monday. So including USC right before they got right before the firing of Coach Helton there. But Rockwall Lake Travis, we talked about them last week. They have the offense to hang with anybody. Well, that defense stepped up too and answered the call and taking down Lake Travis, which has played Martin and several other top programs this non-conference schedule, and they Rockwall handled them. And so that one really jumped out to me. Allen rebounding against Cedar Hill. I I'm telling you, I wouldn't sleep on the Eagles. They've got a ton of talent. Sophomore quarterback, Chad Morris. I think once they hit their stride, Allen's going to be, rolling strong once again, and then Argyle shutting out Salina in a
That was a
big
top
win.
5
Yeah.
showdown,
Yeah.
I believe, in 4A, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
and it's that O line and D line at Argyle, man. They are stout as it gets, and they looked great once again, and in a big matchup in the lower classifications. Yeah.
Well, down in Houston, I know me just following it, like I said, from afar.
Yeah.
There was two
So
big.
much for your vacation, man.
I
You were
know.
working those Twitter fingers.
But I enjoyed doing it. Like, I like Texas high school football so much, and obviously with so many games being streamed now, you can watch them live. And we were at a very crowded restaurant that was taking a very long time to get our food. And so I decided that I was going to pull up that Bridgeland Woodlands game. Fantastic contest, 39-35.
Yeah.
Bridgeland moves to 3-0. Connor Wigman, like I said, 576 total yards. I said on TexAgs Radio today, Jason, like, you shouldn't go in each week expecting 500 total yards and 5 touchdowns, but that's kind of what he's done so far there his senior season at Bridgeland. But the two big games that were making headlines as the night was going on was Spring Westfield against North Shore and then Katy against Dickinson. And I'll start with Spring Westfield knocking off North Shore. That Spring Westfield's a program kind of like Atascocita, Jason, where they have been on the cusp of getting to that state final or breaking through in Houston over the Katys in the North Shores. And Spring Westfield did it in the regular season. And don't sleep on Spring Westfield now. They got A.J. Holmes on the defensive line, committed to Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback, Cardell Williams, is a really nice player, really good player. I saw him in a lot of camps, very live arm. And they have always, their product that they put on the field is always really good, very competitive.
They're perennial quarterfinal, semifinalist. It is like clockwork. One thing about that matchup is it's, to me, it's going to be fast, physical, and fun. Like that is going to be a knockdown drag out every time. And it's exactly what it was this year.
Well, then you go over to Katy Dickinson. And first of all, and let's give credit to John Snelson at Dickinson, because he has put together a serious non-district slate when you look at Manville, Fort Bend, Ridgepoint, Katy, and then this week where I'll be down to see them play, Pasadena Dobie. This is the best Pasadena Dobie team they've had in a long time. I mean, they are blowing the doors off of people by 40, 50 points each week. And so Coach Nelson, there's no rest for the weary here as they try to bounce back, but they gave Katy all they wanted. Katy ends up pulling it out 28-21. And I'm just wondering, Jason, in the power struggle in Greater Houston, if there's some of these programs that are like, okay, North Shore's lost, Katy's been pushed. Is this our time to come up and make that breakthrough? Spring Westfield's one of them. Atascocita is another one. Spring is one. Spring has looked fantastic this year.
Yeah.
Bishop Davenport, their quarterback, has been one of the better players in Greater Houston. Hopefully I get a chance to see those guys play. Very talented roster. Got a couple of linebackers, a DB and DK Friend that has got some really nice offers. So Spring and Spring Westfield look like they're vying for those power positions. But look, just because North Shore loses in week 3, you can't, much like Allen, like you said in DFW, you better not write off John Kay and the Mustangs, because the more those guys play as they break in these new players, the better they're going to be. I'd be willing to bet when it comes playoff time, we're talking about North Shore as a potential state title contender again out of Greater Houston. But maybe some chinks in the armor of the big boys in Katy and in North Shore. We'll see going forward.
I think that's a storyline across the state. I mean, we've seen it with DFW teams, getting knocked around a little bit too. Like we talked about Allen being down a little bit. South Lake, they've been good. They've been doing well, but they're breaking in that a new quarterback there at South Lake. Didn't Ryan, knocked off last week, bounced back with a win this last weekend. But there's Highland Park, another one, and they got a big matchup this week. So
who else outside of Rockwall are you looking at that's like, okay, outside of the big teams that we know,
Yeah.
who other than Rockwall, is there one that I like Rockwall Heath a lot?
I tell you one, I like Rockwall Heath a lot. I think they're going to be right up there. If you want a serious sleeper that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, Louisville.
Okay.
Damian Martinez, Oregon State running back commit, averaging over 10 yards a carry, 554 yards rushing, and they have big boys up front leading the way for him. They're throwing the ball around. They've got playmakers on offense and defense, and they're putting it on some really good teams so far. Louisville's definitely a school to watch, and somebody you can't sleep on. And in that district, they're playing in with Marcus and Flower Mound with some higher profile, players and quarterbacks and things like that. Watch out for Louisville.
Well, before we get into this week's matchups, and there are some big ones, especially in DFW. I'm looking at the list here. A lot of action happening in your neck of the woods this weekend. We actually have our first coach interview on the show of the year to preview probably one of the bigger name matchups in the state, maybe even the country, as Duncanville takes on DeSoto, and Jason got to sit down with DeSoto head coach Claude Mathis. So here's Jason with Mr. Claude Mathis as he gets prepared for the Duncanville Panthers.
Jason Howell, TexAgs here with DeSoto head football coach Claude Mathis. Coach, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You got a pretty big one on the schedule this week. Duncanville, DeSoto. What's the mood around the office right now?
Well, I think everybody's already locked in for this game right here. It's not I can't sit on here and say it's just a normal game because I'd be lying. Everybody know I'd be lying. So it's not a normal game. It's a huge game. You come out the gate and you have pretty much the district title on the line as soon as you come out the gate in your first district ball game. And that says a lot right there. So, you got to be locked out. You got to be locked in, and everybody else, I think they're locked in right now. But at the same time, we got a long 4 days to get things in before Friday.
Well, and you talk about this. This isn't just your normal week. This is a big-time matchup and a local one. A lot of these guys know each other off the field. What has been your message to your guys as you prepare?
It's nothing else matters. It's about schoolwork, and it's about this game. That's all what matters right now. It's nothing else. And you need to have tunnel vision, and you better have tunnel vision, because if you don't, it could be a long Friday night for us. We don't want that to be the case. So right now, I'm just telling our kids right now, we're locked in, and the only thing they need to worry about is their grades, getting their work in, and Duncanville. That's it. Nothing else matters.
What are you most looking forward to about a matchup like this? Like you said, this is what Texas high school football is all about.
That right there, what you just said. It's about Texas high school football. It's about the tradition. It's about what every young kid wants to play in this type of environment, the type of environment that they're going to be in. This is a dream game for them, and you live this. You live all your life for this right here. And these kids on both squads will have a chance to make that happen on Friday night. And so this is what dreams are made of, and they'll never forget this game.
Well, I know for me, there's a ton of talent on that field, a lot of Division I prospects and guys that are going to be going off to play college football. But the biggest matchup I'm looking forward to, you and Coach Samples, man, two world-class head coaches on the sidelines, kind of duking it out.
I think a lot of people they want to see that. They don't understand that me and Coach Samples, we do go way back. We go back to the Skyline days when he was at Skyline, I was there at DeSoto, and now I'm still here at DeSoto and he's at Duncanville. So the rivalry continues with us. But I have mad respect for him, and a lot of guys don't know that, but we go way back, and we're pretty good friends off the field. We may not be friends on the field for that time being, but at the same time, I know that I respect him. And, it's just one of those things where it's fun because a lot of people think we hate each other just because we go at it so much from the Skyline days, man. So we go at it, but at the same time, we have a great relationship off the field.
Well, and I know you guys are coming in on a 2-game winning streak. This is a big one. But what
Yes,
were the
it is.
biggest lessons you've learned about your team? Coming in off non-district play, 2-1.
We're young, very young. We're making some mistakes that youngsters make. Don't have a lot of game time experience underneath our belt. Haven't been under the lights on Friday nights enough to have that experience. And so I'm learning that about them. And on the flip side about that, I'm learning that doesn't matter how young they are, they still fight. It's tradition here. They understand the standard, and our standard is best. And they understand that the foundation that have been laid, and we can let the generations of great players that come through here that have played for us down. And they understand that. So it's a legacy here that they have to uphold. And they're doing their best to do that right now.
Well, one last question before we let you go. What can fans expect when they arrive there in DeSoto, Texas on Friday night?
Well, I want to say a great environment, a great high school environment for a Friday night ball game. I think there's going to be a lot of media here. There's going to be a lot of people here at this game, but there's going to be a lot of excitement on the football field. And, that's what it's about. It's about our kids, about our players that are about to play this game right here. And it's a dream, man. It's a dream. I love coaching in games like this. It's one of those things where as a coach, you dream of being in a situation that we're about to be in on Friday night, that all eyes are on you, all eyes on you. And, you're going to have a winner, you're going to have a loser. You just don't want to be on that losing end. At the same time, you want your kids to go out there and have fun and enjoy the setting, enjoy the environment. And this is what high school football is all about. And this is what DeSoto football is about. So we're excited. We can't wait to get on the field on Friday night. We have a long ways to wait, but I guarantee you it's going to be one exciting ball game.
There you have it. DeSoto head football coach Claude Mathis. Thank you so much.
All right, Jason, good stuff with Coach Mathis. It's a big-time matchup. What are some of the things you are personally looking for between Duncanville and DeSoto?
Well, it's going to come down to what happens in those trenches. That Duncanville D-line, and in particular, those edge defenders. You got Omari Abor and Colin Simmons that are both just big-time, disruptors off the edge. And if they can disrupt that passing attack at DeSoto and keep them off balance, I think that'll go a long way in determining the outcome. But it's at DeSoto. It's going to be a raucous atmosphere. It is, this is going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in that area, I would venture out and check it out. There's a ton of big time prospects all over the field, and different classifications, 2024 to 22. You got P5 guys all over the place. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Man, I'm looking at this game list, Jason, and it's loaded in the Metroplex. I'm looking at Arlington at South Lake Carroll, Arlington Martin at South Lake Carroll. Big time. I believe Rockwall's got another big one coming up. Frisco Liberty against Frisco Memorial. That's Evan Stewart. Both of those teams undefeated. Rockwall Highland Park. And then we have some crossover, and we've got the battle of the streak enders here as Atascocita makes another trip up north to take on Denton Guyer. Yeah, and take on a really good Denton Guyer team. Denton Guyer ends Denton Ryan's long non-district winning streak. Atascocita goes up to Allen in the same week and ends Allen's home winning streak and also their non-district winning streak. I'm excited to see this one now. I know that Guyer's got some big-time playmakers, especially on defense. Yeah. The emergence of quarterback Jackson Arnold, always a very well-coached team, and this feels like maybe Atascocita's, like you mentioned earlier, one of those potential perennial quarterfinal, semifinal type of teams. This feels like their most well-rounded one they've had that could maybe potentially break through to a state final. I'm really looking forward to that matchup there at Apogee Stadium.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Like you mentioned, there's a ton of talent all over the field there. Jackson Arnold has just been off the charts, picked up a lot of offers coming into the season really off of mop-up duty tape and some spring workouts. So he's proven all of those people right, all of those coaches right, and has really done a great job of directing that Geyer offense. One that I'm looking forward to. I look at that Argyle Waco La Vega matchup down in Central Texas.
Now La Vega got knocked off last week by somebody.
LBJ.
Yeah, LBJ.
Knocked them. Yeah, and so I mean they're 2-1. They're not undefeated as usually the case with these two, but these two, they have a strong history, and you can bet there's going to be no love lost on this one. They're not pulling any punches. Then they're going to come out swinging on both sides.
Well, I do want to highlight some games in Houston. The Woodlands trying to bounce back. They take on Katy. Again, the Woodlands has played a fantastic non-district schedule as well. We'll see how Katy bounces back from being pushed. The Woodlands, very underrated as a team with their talent. We spoke a little bit about Martrell Harris, I believe, last week. Just cut from the same mold as Harold Perkins, maybe not that elite. Like, I've never covered a linebacker like Harold Perkins in my tenure as a recruiting analyst, but Martrell Harris is cut of that same cloth, has been a turnover machine there for the Highlander defense. So we'll see how they stack up against the physicality of Katy. Speaking of Harold Perkins, for the first time ever as a school, the Cy Park Tigers make an appearance in Dave Campbell's top 25 this year. They have been rolling up people in Houston, and they've got a lot of, Perkins is the headliner, but they've got Nate Livingston and Owen Pee-wee and a really nice 24 quarterback and Deion Batiste. Really kind of an underrated, slept-on program there in Houston. Cy Parks, they're going to be tough to beat this year. And then here locally, I did want to give a shout-out. We talked a lot about College Station and their potential as a state finalist, state championship caliber team this year, and they're certainly just rolling people like we expected them to. But how about A&M Consolidated? Go to San Marcos to meet in a neutral site game against 6A powerhouse Converse Judson and double them up, beat them 28-14. I think Coach Fedora has got a really nice collection of kids that have bought into his way. Obviously, the offense he's taken care of his entire career. So shout out to the A&M Consolidated Tigers. They got Willis this week here in town, and Willis is boast quarterback, 2024 quarterback Derek Lagway, who's got A&M offers and who's been fantastic on tape so far this year. So really interesting game there. But when you start looking at 5A Division II and Region 3, could it be an A&M Consolidated Fort Bend Marshall crash course yet again to see who maybe advances there in that region, that bracket, and have set themselves up? The winner of that game would set themselves up for a nice little run at a state championship. So shout out to Coach Fedora and the Tigers. Didn't mean to overlook you guys, and certainly they're playing extremely, extremely well. Potentially have him in studio next week to talk about the success of his team. So, Jason, that was great stuff today with Coach Mathis. Like we've said, we're looking forward to getting more coaches on here.
So where we absolutely, and we definitely will. We got to hit on where we're going to be this week.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I mentioned I'm going to be down at Dickinson for Dickinson Pasadena Adobe. We're going to have people at Katy versus the Woodlands, and we'll have people at A&M Consolidated versus Willis. Where will you be?
And I will be at Garland Naaman Forest for their first game of the year after COVID kind of sidetracked things
Marcus
for
Deal,
3 straight weeks. So they take on North Garland there in Williams Stadium, and then I will be on Friday at Pilot Point Gunter.
Oh,
check out Ish Harris.
Those are two power programs for small schools,
And Pilot Point's coming off a loss. They had to replace their opponent at the last minute last week with the Cal Wing T team, and they lost a close one, 29-28, on the road last week, and so they're looking to rebound, and should be a lot of fun.
Well, we'll catch you guys on the road. Jason, be safe on your travels. I'm looking forward to getting back out there after a week off. Enjoy the weekend, Texas high school football. There's nothing greater. We'll be right back here next week on the TexAgs High School Football Show.